And when bad things happen, they call traditionally masculine men. If you need a firefighter, you need a masculine man. When you call the police because of the problem you have, you want masculine men.
Masculinity is to men what lip fillers are to women. But since the introduction of women empowerment and feminism and gender equality, men have been suppressed and blamed. In fact, men are now ashamed of being men. Weirdly, when a man pays his bills, takes care of his family, buys a house, drives a nice car, and works for 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, then it is called his duty and responsibility as a man. But when the same things are done by a woman, she becomes the queen, girl boss, sigma female, OG, and many more things. This problem has become so sadistic that teenage boys have confessed to refrain from becoming a man, as men are toxic, bad, trash, and irrelevant in the future. This is the type of venom that is being injected into young boys that are making them more feminine and less masculine than they should have been. Since the last few decades, a significant drop in testosterone levels have been observed in men. It first got attention in the 1980s, but over the following decades, the testosterone levels have been dropping at a petrifying rate. Studies have proven that the testosterone levels of a young 22-year-old man today is the same as the testosterone levels of a 61-year-old in 2003. The average testosterone levels of a 20 to 24 years old male is supposed to be 407 to 558 nanograms per deciliter, whereas the testosterone levels of somebody of similar age in the late 1990s was 555 to 1018 nanograms per deciliter. And this also affects the other physical aspects of men. Current generation of men are less hairy than their fathers or grandfathers. The body hair growth has been affected by a drop in testosterone levels. The body structure has become slimmer, and physical traits like broad shoulders, broad waist, a deeper manly voice all have become less common in men. You can compare yourself with a father or grandfather or someone in their older years and see that they tend to have a broader physical structure, a deeper thick voice. The body hair and the physical strength will also be comparatively higher in their bodies. Their bodies will be more muscular than ours. In fact, low testosterone levels also affect sperm production and quality. No wonder 6 out of every 10 couples today face issues with pregnancy and fertility. Low testosterone levels have reduced the quality of sperm and slowed the sperm production as well. Laziness and less energetic, constant tiredness are some other problems that come with low testosterone levels. Although it is still a matter of curiosity, and studies are undergoing to prove if this change in physical traits is triggering a drop in testosterone levels, or a drop in testosterone levels has forced these physical changes. The lifestyle today is vastly different from the lifestyle of our previous generations. Today, it has become sedentary and physical exertion is barely a thing. Our generation prefers machinery and automation over manual labor, and our calorie intake usually exceeds the calorie we burn, which further promotes lifelong incurable diseases, and with the introduction of work from home, it has worsened the case. The food choices, the diet we follow is another reason behind it, as unhealthy eating habits and junk food leads us to obesity and other diseases which affects the growth in our testosterone levels. Obesity also leads to diseases such as diabetes, which limit the secretion of hormones, leading to further drop in our testosterone levels. The external toxins, like traces of microplastic that enter our bodies through our food, is another reason that has begun to mess with your hormonal cycles. A lot of these plastics that enter our body contain EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, that are usually hard to break down for our bodies and become hazardous over time. Water intake from plastic bottles, food packed in plastic containers are main carriers of EDCs. The mental exertion or stressful lifestyle has become common for us. We stress over petty things and involve our minds in issues that are not even in our control, and long-term mental stress leads to a drop in testosterone levels. Lack of sleep is another evil that promotes decline in testosterone. In fact, masculine traits like sexual, observant, aggressive, decisive, physically strong, competitive, etc. traits that are now considered to be toxic when displayed by a male, while, ironically, the same traits when possessed by a woman are acknowledged and empowering. When a man takes multiple women out, dates them, has multiple affairs and carries himself as a stud, then his character is assassinated as a Casanova, fuckboy, etc. Now, wait, Until a woman does the same thing, then she isn't a slut, but an independent woman who can choose to do whatever she wants and must not be judged by the society. Today, the definition of men has been forcefully modified into something that men never were. Since medieval ages, or even from before, nature has differentiated between the two genders in a way that contrasts and complements each other. Since then, there were roles assigned to both the genders. Men will go hunt for food, protect their families, and women will prepare and serve the food and take care of children. And this is exactly how the world functioned for thousands of years until the idea of equality came into picture. No, it isn't something bad. But with the idea of equality came women empowerment, which again is a much needed concept for our society. But with women empowerment and feminism, pseudo-feminism also came into existence, and that further brought disempowerment of men into picture. Misogyny, patriarchy, discrimination, inequality, suppressing the voice of women, and a ton of other accusations were imposed upon men. Men were derogated, accused, disempowered, and all that was overlooked and defended by accusations of being a chauvinist, supremacist, sexist, anti-feminist, and whatnot. The so-called feminist society wants women to behave like men, wants equal opportunities and everything. But then they also want men to be chivalrous and pay for them and protect them. But at the same time, chivalry is looked down as considering women incapable, and they also shame protective men as over-possessive, narrow-minded, and the protecting man should not be aggressive as well. Since young age, boys are raised at par with girls. They are raised in overprotective shells with privileges. Men are taught skincare, sensibility, emotional availability. Overall, all these things refrain them from forming a masculine behavior in their later years as adults. Today, the natural traits of manliness are labeled as toxic masculinity. The traits that define an average man are now a reason for shame, and masculinity is looked down upon. Society has forced men to become sensible, feminine, and less manly, and it is purely for the agenda of women empowerment. When the empowerment of women was not enough, disempowerment of men was introduced, where common traits of men were now considered toxic. Pride was labeled as arrogance. Straightforward men were called rude and mean. Loud, deep voice was asked to be replaced with soft speaking. Aggression was labeled disrespectful. High sex drive was marked as pervert, and the list goes on endlessly. And all these with time, with passing generations, are imposed upon men from their years of adolescence, which makes them believe being more feminine as a man is the right thing. And when all these traits are suppressed and men are forced to behave like characters from a fairy tale world. Ironically, men are supposed to appear barbaric and manly, but are supposed to behave like teenage girls, and universally it is just not possible. Because when the aggression, the strength, and all that barbaric masculine traits are looked down upon and are not utilized, the traits become inactive and slowly fade away from the character of an individual. Moreover, this trend of beta males who consider crying, avoiding fights, weakness, vulnerability, all these are adding up to the problem. And subconsciously, the brain is consuming it, leading to less secretion of testosterone, and the testosterone required for other tasks are not utilized at all. Subconsciously, men have started to consider feminine traits as gender neutral and okay, and are getting indulged in makeup, cosmetic procedures. Instead of building muscles, skinny physique is idolized now. And there are 100 other reasons that have socially programmed our brain to consume it as a normal man trait, which doesn't require high testosterone. Since ancient times, men have been associated with fighting wars and battles, protecting their families, and a correct representation of a man has been associated with pride, aggression, competitiveness, horny, powerful, dominating, chivalrous. But none of these traits are in demand anymore. Vulnerable, sissy boys are celebrated as real men. Indecisive, simps, and overcaring, submissive boys are labeled as modern man, who is desirable, and more of these young boys are now trying to fit into this label because of FOMO. The current situation is not a result of a couple of weeks or months, but rather decades, so the time to be taken to fix the issue will also take generations. adequate sleep, clean diet, physical activity, proper supplements that boost testosterone, limit alcohol, and reversal of diseases like obesity and diabetes, and minimal mental stress are few ways to boost the testosterone levels back again. But just these won't help much until the societal view towards masculinity changes, and masculinity is also celebrated equally as feminism. Only then we can expect a difference.